Welcome, everybody, to The Dynasty. It's a podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide, along with AJ McCarron, Trent, Richardson, multiple national championship rings between those guys. I'm Chris Stewart. Glad to have you with us, and hope you'll remember to check us out wherever you get your podcast, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. And if you're just looking for the show, go to thedynastybama.com. Also, please rate and review. Check us out across social media at The Dynasty Bama. Coming up this week, the latest from fall camp as things have gotten underway. We're also going to take a look at the week one matchup in Tallahassee for the Crimson Tide and Florida State. And we're going to wrap things up with tales from a title run with AJ and Trent. Gentlemen, hope things are good with you guys. And finally, we got the team on the practice field. A little something to talk about instead of just in theory. Some actual football to discuss. The first practice in the first half week of practice anyway in the books. Coach DeBoer referenced it being a balanced team. What do you see? What in your mind makes it balanced? People tend to think 50-50, pass run, but really and truly, guys, what does a balanced offense look like? Trent Richardson, let's start with you in that regard. What's it look like for you when I say balance on offense?
To me, what I think balance is being able to establish both, especially the run. But like everybody knows, it starts up front. And so when you got a dominant offensive line that can do run block and can pass block, is you can do anything. And you got somebody on the outside can catch it. Um, I was lucky. I was blessed to be with some amazing guys in that receiver room, and one of the biggest names in the world, but they made their name solid in college football. And having guys like that made the box easier for me. Having the guys like Marquise Mays and Julio Darius Hanks, being able to have those guys on the outside, Brad Smelly, our tight end was a big one. So being able to move the ball on both ends and not just put it on my quarterback is it's a beautiful thing, man, when you're talking about having a pro style offense and a balanced offense. So you got to be able to do both.
Do both, and also those running backs being able to both run and receive was a heck of a weapon, AJ.
You got to. You got to.
Oh yeah. I mean, listen, when I hear Coach talk about that, I don't think he's, just referencing offense as a whole. I mean that can mean as a team. From a coaching standpoint, I think he's more comfortable going into a second year, and then having Grubb there, who he's familiar with. And it's not a shot at Nick, but I think whenever a head coach understands, at all times what his OC is looking for, wanting, the type of attack he's going for. And then, listen, I mean, it's just the truth of the matter. Whenever you understand your quarterback situation and what they're best at, um, and you're not trying to be something that you aren't, like I felt like they were last year a little bit with so much rushing with the quarterback situation. I think that matters a lot too. But, you know, this offense, they have to play well up front, but they have to establish a run game, like Trent said. Um, it's going to come down to Jam Miller, Richard Young, Draylon Washington. Like it's coming down to guys that can hit the hole and take pressure off a tie, and then you need receivers to make plays. You're going to get a bunch of cloud coverage this year or double on Ryan. It's just the way it is. So it opens things up for Bernard and Horton and other guys that want to make a name for themselves, and this is going to be the time when you can do that, when you have a guy out wide and Ryan Williams.
I want to get into some things about the quarterback competition. We've got some cuts from Coach DeBoer, from Coach Grubb, but I want to kind of go a route we hadn't talked about. Yes, Ryan Grubb is back, but he had a year away to learn some new things, some different things. Um, there's familiarity, there's comfort that Coach DeBoer has with Coach Grubb. But how much in the big picture do you think it helps Trent that Coach Grubb basically got a year not on sabbatical, he was working, but I got a chance to really study some different stuff, some new ways of doing it, and add to what they do and have done for several years successful together.
Man, it's big. I mean, when you can go somewhere and, be out your system that you've been used to and, been taught the whole time and learn something new. It's almost like learning a different language. Like if I can be fluent in this language over here and speak this language over here, like I can communicate to anybody. And so to be able to have a guy like Ryan Grubbs go and learn and go expose himself to more, football, right? And it opens up the playbook. And I tell guys all the time, like you can go give me and there's no shots, right? I'm just talking about as prime example. Go give me Andrew Luck, right? And let him be my offensive coordinator. But if I have a AJ McCarron, somebody I know, somebody I played with, somebody I was in a dog fight with, I'm picking AJ every time. Period. Point blank clear. That's my
Yeah.
brother. That's who I'm used to. That's who I grew with. That's the bond that we have. And so for me, man, you gotta be able to be comfortable in an uncomfortable situation. And so why not get comfortable with your brother that you done came over in the game with and that he's going to put some heat on that dog and on defense when it comes to calling those plays.
And AJ for Kalen DeBoer and for Ryan Grubb, they're not gonna just because they got some new ideas, they're not gonna shelve what they've done, but I've gotta think that it maybe helps put a new spin on things that they've done and done very well in the past.
So I'm gonna play devil's advocate on this. I don't know if Grubb being with the Seahawks helps him that much.
Okay.
And when I say that, um, the NFL game, and myself and Trent understand this, is played totally different than the college game. One, the hashes alone change the game completely, right? The hashes are towards the center of the field. In college, the defense is way more spread out from a sense of they have to show blitzes earlier because if the ball's all the way on the right hash, you have a ton more field to the left. So therefore, they got to show that the safety's got to get out quicker.
Yeah.
Um, it's just a different game. So now, when it comes to doing certain schemes, it, I can see it helping. Just getting ideas and like, oh, hey, this worked when the ball's closer towards the middle of the field. But as a totality of the game itself,
Yeah.
it's played so different. I don't know if it helps that much, but it definitely doesn't hurt from a sense of being able to um, grow when it comes to more ideas, um, different concepts in different situations. Um, and the great thing is the clock in college is now pretty much the pro clock from a sense of I think there were some fumbles last year, and this isn't knocking Coach DeBoer, but I think back to the Vanderbilt game.
Mm,
And there was a time towards the end of the game, we're still fighting, and they let the clock run all the way down to the 2-minute situation when we still had timeouts. And it's like, hold on, we were playing defense. We had them they run a first down play. We call a timeout. They run a second down play, and they get close to the first down marker, and we just let the clock run out to the 2-minute warning. And it's like, why not bang a timeout there? So, like, things that came new to the college game last year, I think even in coach discussion and the meetings behind closed doors, like him having that experience,
Right.
being like, hey, this is what we did in this situation, even from an offensive side, but he could also help from a defensive side just to throw out new ideas from that sense when it comes to clock management and things like that. So, um, listen, like Trent said, it always helps when you're familiar with the guys that you're battling with, right? It's why the military spends so much time with each other, because
Yeah.
it's a bunch of random guys that come together for one purpose, but you have to spend time to create a brotherhood, a family. And football and team sports are the exact same way. So I think it's going to help not only just their team but their coaching staff in certain situations this year.
All right, guys, let's hear from coaches a little bit, and we're going to start off hearing from the OC Ryan Grubb on the quarterback competition.
Yesterday, if I'm being honest. But you got to let it run its course. It's not there yet, and we've been through this before more than once, and you just got to let it run its course. We got a pretty detailed plan on how we'll figure those things out, and the information that we share with the guys every day. And when it's the right time, we'll be ready to pull the trigger.
And obviously, he's talking there about the deciding on who the starting quarterback will be. Good or bad that it's not clear who the number one guy is right now, given that you've got three guys that you know are talented?
I mean, it could be clear, and the only people that are gonna know are the people that are in the know.
Yeah.
Uh, like let's be honest. I love having talk for fans and trying to build it up and everything, but um, listen, Keelan
You think they
Russell's
know?
is not going to
Yeah.
play. Like, he's young. It's just anybody you talk to up there. He's super talented. It's just not his time right now. It's Ty and Austin Mack. Everybody that I've talked to, that I hear from up there, like, that's what it comes down to. It's Ty's job to lose. Okay, and if Ty just starts playing extremely bad during camp, well, then they got to go back to the drawing board and say, all right, well, do we ride with him in this first game or do we go with Austin Mack? But
Yeah.
um, it's Ty's job to lose, and then I think it's a deciding factor throughout the first three games, depending on how he plays. Hell, it's really probably the first game. If he comes out and he doesn't play well, then they can make a change at halftime or something like that. I don't know how short the leash is going to be. Hopefully, he has some extra rope or leash with that starting job, but it they have a bunch of guys that are capable, that are plenty talented enough, but it's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
Why would you come out in your coaching staff? Why would you come out and say it right now
Sure.
and give Florida State something to prepare for?
And Trent, to me, it's not a bad thing. It's actually a good thing that Keelan Russell's where he is. You don't have to rush him. You can get him ready without having to throw him in there day one. You've got guys that can handle the position. And I agree with AJ. I mean, it's Ty's the guy, but God forbid on a pass he hits a defensive lineman's helmet with his hand or anything that can happen injury wise, that now suddenly, okay, it's somebody else. That's why you got to have more than one guy ready to go, if at all possible. And Bama's fortunate they've got that luxury that there is talent available beyond the guy who's got the most experience.
Well, the good thing to me, right, is that you have that situation where if somebody go down, you got somebody, um, and me and Mark used to talk like this. We got somebody beside him that's just
Yeah.
as good or better. And I've been fortunate to be in that situation a couple times with my quarterback position when I was in school. And good thing that we had, like, a lot of people don't realize, like, when you talk about these teams like the Alabamas and Georgias and the Clemsons, a lot of their second string guys are better than their first string guys, right? And not to say it like that, but they're just getting prepared for the next level. And so when you talk about these incoming freshmen or these sophomores that's up and coming, like, you got to get better every year, because if not, like, you're still you run up to a guy that's a junior that's been there, that's waited his time and he's ready to go now, and that guy get hurt and you're not ready. that's the end of your career, right? Not, I ain't gonna say end of it, but like you don't want that bad film out there. So you got to be prepared just as well as the guy that's in front of you or beside you, because when your number is called, your number is called. So you never know.
Let's go to our next clip from Coach Grubb. We know Ryan Williams, Jeremy Bernard. We've even talked about the Miami transfer Isaiah Horton, but Coach Grubb reminds us that there's there's more than one other really good option out there, but one guy that's kind of stepping forward is the redshirt freshman Rico Scott.
Young player, his body transformation from now, even from this winter when I got here to now, he's become, I think he was one of the guys that hit the top speed this summer. So one of our fastest guys on the team, super physical player, willing to run through people. And then the level of detail he has in his route running for a young player and the versatility he can play inside and outside, he's going to be a presence this year.
Guys, we talked about it, depth so much better across the board for this team. But is this group going to be where you see one of the major strengths? And if so, who besides Williams and Bernard are you most excited to see to step in? Because there are a bunch of options there.
Well, I think it's got to be. It's not, you hope for them to get where they want to go and achieve the goals they want. They need this group to be. And I say that because you are going to get cloud coverage or double Ryan probably 90% of the game. And then when you don't, you got to make, you got to have the right play call. You got to have the right check or whatever to take those shots with him. But teams aren't going to allow him to just run by him and create big plays a la Georgia game. I doubt you get many free releases on go balls, post, anything that's down the field. So that's half of the field cut off right there. So you got 2 to 3 other guys on the other side of the field that can wreak havoc. And you need those guys to go make plays and beat one-on-one coverage and be able to be where they're supposed to be when they're supposed to be there. Like, you got to have that to be successful. So, listen, there's a ton of guys. They have a ton of depth in this receiver room. Like, you need those guys to step up and make plays this year for your team to be successful, and that's just the way it is.
Trent?
I truly agree, and I think Rico Scott is going to be one of those guys. He's always trying to score. You can always catch him. I mean, my kids follow him online all the time. He's always working out, doing something to get better. And he's that quiet guy that people don't expect to be that guy. But he's going to be one of those guys. And when you're doubling the Ryan Williams, and you're trying to put Bernard in double brackets too, right? You got a guy like Rico that can go out there and stretch the field. He can go out there and win one-on-one battles. And that is perfect for the offense that they're trying to put out there this year, especially trying to add that run game to it. And so I think Rico going to be one of those guys, man, that's going to, be the sleeper. But he's going to be a big difference maker. So he kind of like almost like for me when I compare him, and I hate comparing, like I could say similar. Kevin Owood, one of those guys that people do not look forward to playing when he do get the ball in his hand.
Jalen Mbakwe is another name out there that gives you an option. He's really athletic, obviously, former 5-star, talented, but the position's on a full-time basis, the position is new to him. But a great athlete, again, that can make some plays. But thankfully, with depth, he's not a guy that's got to be your primary focus. 2 other guys are going to get some good opportunities, and reps are kind of banged up right now and are coming off of injuries. Jalen Hale coming off the knee injury, and Latzir Brooks got a lot of praise in the spring, but he was not getting after it in practice. Reports are that he was spotted wearing a boot on his leg and riding a bike on Saturday. And Coach DeBoer was asked. He said it's not something that is expected to be extended. Let's talk running game real quick, Trent. trying to figure out whether Cam Dewberry, the A&M transfer, or Gino Vandermark, the senior, is going to replace Tyler Booker. Either way, it ain't Tyler Booker, which is not a knock on either one of those guys, but Tyler Booker was the heart and soul, I thought, of that line, of course, last year, and I think we're all in agreement on that. But how vital are those two guys to the run game specifically being what it needs to be?
They got to be able to come in and be able to open up the hole. They got to. First of all, because if you can't, you cannot run the ball. Those guys right there in that interior offensive line, like, you got to have those guys that if they're pulling. Listen, that's who I want to run behind. I always wanted to run behind Chance Womack because I knew he was a freight train coming through there, but when he pulled, he was coming to knock somebody's head off. I always knew what I had to do when it come to helping guys out, when the protection, when they were going pass coverage, when we were doing pass protection, who I had to chip and who I didn't have to help out. He was one of those guys I didn't have to. And so to be one of those guys that you can depend on, coming in after, filling big shoes like Booker, it's going to be tough to do. But, being in those trenches, all game, 60 minutes, that is a long time to be down there fighting. So you got to have those guys prepared.
Guys, let's wrap up the segment with a cut from the boss, Kalen DeBoer, talking about the quarterback competition and how the battle in practice is going to prepare them for what they're going to see in the games.
A lot of the competition right now is a lot of pressure on them. There's pressure to play in games and the quarterback pressure that exists, going through the season. But really, the pressure that they have to compete and win the spot is something that's preparing them for those times in the games. And so going against a defense like ours, and our defense does a really good job. I think they're getting better and better at disguising things. Which means you don't know where things might always come from. And then, guys just that are playmakers out there too, they can cover a lot of ground, and they're not just giving you those gimmies, those blown coverages. You're having to make plays. And so quarterbacks did a good job of, I think, taking calculated risks at the right time. They didn't put our offense in jeopardy really, throughout practice. And they're being challenged by obviously a group on the other side of the ball that we've, got a lot of confidence in right now.
Guys, that is one of the things, especially during the era in which you guys played, that Coach Saban talked about all the time, is that you had first-round picks on the D-line going against first-round picks on the O-line and guys in the secondary, AJ, that are having to defend you, and receivers who were so good. Trent, obviously, especially linebackers. I mean, there's nothing they were facing in the NFL that they didn't face in practice at the University of Alabama. And while the level across the board may not be as good right now, that's okay. That stretch you guys were going through, that was pretty historic run. Nobody else does either, but it's still a good enough level of talent competition that what they're going to see Monday through Friday is about as good as what they're going to have a chance to see anywhere on a Saturday. Am I wrong in that assessment?
No. I mean, you listen, anytime you're at a big school, Alabama, Ohio State, Georgia, your big time guys year in and year out, like, you're going to face the best players in the country. You're going to face guys that are going to be top draft picks in the league. So you're going to face a ton of talent every day. You're going to get the work that you need to get in, and it's going to make you a better player for sure.
Trent is good in practice, practically is. I mean, look, the NFL's the NFL, but you guys were seeing the best of the best in college each week.
Man, listen, the stuff that we had to practice against, like it gets no better, especially when it comes to college football. And then you playing the SEC every week, like, it had you prepared. Like, put it like this, if you wasn't 255 and above, like, I wasn't I watched film on you, but I wasn't watching film on you.
Yeah.
Because what we had to go through every week, with having linebackers and that's 260 running 4.5s, and so when you got guys like that, it's almost a thing to where like you're prepared for any situation. And coach made sure that, situational football was played. Like we would go good on good all the time. And goal line defense, goal line offense, we're flying. And you was hitting, I know it's not like that today, but the talent that we seeing on the other side, man, listen, I can't. When people talk about like what's the hardest I've been hit at practice, at Bama practice, that's the hardest I've ever been hit, and it wasn't even a hit situation. I fell into Terrence Cody's stomach, and he flatlined. It was almost like a clothesline. My freshman year, that was my welcome to the SEC Alabama football when I first did that. So, like man, and it was a fun thing too, man. Like we had fun competing every day, man, and it made us better. Iron sharpen iron, man. So you're not going to to lose a step when you got guys on the other side. That's first round.
We're gonna have to start calling you Jonah. Wound up in the whale's belly.
Man, it was like I jump cut and went right into the stomach, and it was over with.
Good Lord. All right. When we come back, we're going to talk about the Tide defensively and that pass rush. Can it get better this year because of what they've got up front? And also, we're going to take our early look at Bama and Florida State. Stay with us as we continue with more of The Dynasty, a podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide, coming up next. Thanks for joining us here on The Dynasty, a podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide with AJ McCarron, Trent Richardson. I'm Chris Stewart. Let's remind you again that you can always find us at The Dynasty Bama on our social media platforms. And also, if you're looking for the show, just go to thedynastybama.com in addition to all the social media platforms, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever you happen to get your podcast. Let's go back to something we were talking about, guys, with different things about camp and where we're going. Last season, the Tide was 14th in the SEC in sacks per game at 1.92. They were 11th in tackles for loss. If the Tide's going to create more negative plays defensively, where exactly do you see that coming from? AJ, where's the real pressure coming from an individual standpoint?
Well, listen, they got to find a dominant or two dominant pass rushers. I mean, it's just the way it is.
Is it LT? Is it Quay? Is it Keon or Jamarian? Where do you see it?
I don't really care who it comes from. I don't care if it's the individual themselves or Kane coming up with more schemes that allows more one-on-ones up front to where it gives guys more opportunities because you're having more outside pressure or more stunts up front that are and stunts in games that are allowing guys that one-on-one opportunity. And then it's up to those guys to go make the play. But either way, because when you look at Kane's defense last year, they were awesome in turnover ratio. And I mean, I remember sitting there watching the Georgia game, being inside on the sideline and just amazed by how many turnovers they were able to create early in that game. And so the scheme itself is obviously doing something because when you watch Carson Beck in that game, he looked terrified. He looked confused. The whole first half, he had no clue what was going on. And the pre-snap and post-snap part of it for him and for any quarterback is what was tough during that time. So being able to disguise coverages, but also create some type of scheme to where we're getting more one-on-ones up front, that not only helps a defense that came off a great year of the turnover ratio, but now you're getting more pressure up front because when you're able to establish more pressure on a quarterback by only rushing 4, it helps your defense tremendously. It helps your secondary. It helps everything else And you can create havoc for that quarterback by not even creating pressure or drawing up a pressure, package. And that's what makes a defense dangerous is when they're able to do that. That's why LSU was so tough every year. LSU didn't do a ton of blitzing,
Yeah.
right? They had dudes up front that could bring pressure in one-on-one battles. A lot of times, some dudes in the middle that could beat double teams and still create, pressure in the center of the pocket that didn't allow the quarterback to just step up and deliver a ball. That's what helps defenses out. So they got to figure that out because, and I know they have dudes that can absolutely play. I got the chance to spend some time with Tim Keenan about a week and a half ago. Massive human and but even better person, but sitting there getting to talk to him for a couple hours, like, and listening to him talk. You want to talk about a guy that reminds me of like our day of playing and his mindset. Like, he loves Alabama. He has a passion for not only the school but for the game of football. It's a dude that was under Coach Saban and just knows how to work. And he's one of those leaders on the defensive line. And I'm excited to watch not only TK but the rest of the guys this year.
How about for you, Trent?
I agree with everything AJ just said, especially when you're talking about Tim. Tim, listen, this guy has been special for a long time, and I actually got to see him play in high school. I get a phone call, say, "Hey man, you need to come check this kid out." And man, he was lights out, even in high school, and he was young at the time too. And so I kind of knew that he was going to be special. Didn't know what he was going to lean to. I'm glad he chose Alabama. But you got to be able to rush the passer these days with 4. You got to, especially with all these different offense receivers, routes, and all this other stuff that's going in the mix when it comes to being a great offense. Like, it's crazy, man, trying to, stop these offenses nowadays. And so when you look at it, man, coach said it. Defense don't win games no more, man. You got to be able to put up 55 points nowadays. And so when you can rush the passer with 4 and you can drop everybody else off in coverage, or confuse the quarterback a little bit and put pressure on them with your down 4 lineman, man, that is big. Like, you don't have to bring an extra blitzer. And somebody's not going to be able to get to the ball. You can do them, double stunts and crossing. You can do those cross dogs and stuff, man. So when you got a defensive line that's stout up there up front, and you cannot run the ball on them too, is man, listen, them trenches are different, and those guys up front, they make their money, offense and defense, the most money because those guys are in a dog fight every play. And if you don't have guys like that, you're going to lose. You're not going to be in a game.
Speaking of dog fights, whenever Alabama, with Nick Saban as the head coach, faced a Gus Malzahn offense at Auburn, it was indeed that. That guy could draw up stuff that nobody else could at times against Nick Saban for whatever reason. But now he walked away from a head coaching job at UCF to become the defensive coordinator at Florida State. Kane Womack was asked about what sets Gus Malzahn and his offensive play calling apart.
Gus is relentless in the details. He does a really great job from just constantly, holding people accountable to the details. He had great teams at Springdale High School when he was a head coach back then. I just remember how disciplined those football teams were and how hard they were to beat, because I really think, those players took on and embodied the personality of their head coach, right? And if you look at his career, I think there's that's a point that you can continue to kind of acknowledge, right? The discipline that his guys play with and the physicality they play with, and then simply the tempo that they play with. They've always done a great job of that.
A lot of history there, and Kane knows what he's talking about as it relates to Gus Malzahn. He was a player at Arkansas, when Gus was the OC. In fact, I think Kane's known him since he was an 8th grader himself. They go way back. Of course, Gus had a great high school coaching career, well documented in the state of Arkansas as well. So what is it, first and foremost? What is it about the offenses that he engineers that make it so difficult, such a challenge to defend, AJ?
Well, I mean, it's the tempo. That's what used to give, Coach Saban and Kirby fits is when you play or you run a very complex defense like they did, where you come out and it could be, hey, we're playing 3 Jade. And then that's for a 3-by-1 formation. All of a sudden they come out, break the huddle, they're in a 2-by-2. So now it goes to palms, but then all of a sudden now the back's not weak, the back's strong. So now it changes to a whole nother coverage. And then somebody goes back in motion or across the formation. It goes to another coverage, right? So our defenses had so many checks within the one play call to where it's a very complex defense. Everybody has to be able to communicate and understand what the checks are and what we're going to. And then when you go up tempo, you can't run that. You play base coverage and you got to get the call in just as fast because you don't know if they're about to snap it. So you're playing off percentages. And then when you play off percentages is when that makes Gus dangerous because he's not a percentage guy from a sense of, it's, 2nd and 7. You're probably just going to run the ball right here and try to be in, like, he could throw out a trick play all of a sudden. Like, percentages just go out the window with him. So that's the biggest thing is his tempo, and then just putting pressure on the defense at all times. It makes it tough. And he likes being able to put a defense in a bind to where they play base coverages, and then he has the upper hand. So listen, I think the world of Gus. He was always awesome to not only myself, but my family, and got to spend a lot of time with him over the years. And I think he's a hell of a coach. I think he's trying to wiggle his way into that head coaching job at Florida State eventually.
Yeah, especially if the head man moves on one way or the other. Yep. Another year like the year before last, Trent, and he may have a chance to go somewhere else. Another year like he had this past season, he may have to go somewhere else. They're not going to put up with that back-to-back years.
Yeah, who knows at Florida State, right?
True.
But I will say this, though, man. When you talk about what Gus has done, it's only been maybe 2 guys that really kept Coach Saban up, and I say him and Steve Spurrier. And he reminds me a lot of him when it comes to the offenses that he brings. He can just draw them up in dirt and confuse the hell out of everybody. We always knew when we played them that it was going to probably get down some point in the game, probably early in the game, because they're going to come out with a double reverse. They're going to come out with an onside kick. They're going to come out with a flea flicker. We actually put one back on them. I think we was in Auburn. We did the flea flicker. Kenny Bell scored. Or was it Brad Smelly?
No, it was Kenny.
It was Kenny. Yeah,
we hit the wide to Smelly.
Yeah,
I remember being on the sidelines for that. Everybody's grinning. Here it comes. Here it comes. Here it comes.
But it's stuff like that, man, where like he keeps you up for weeks when you're preparing for him. Like, especially now, like preparing for him for the first game of the season. I know Coach is up. Well, I know Coach Saban would have been up for a month, like trying to get this stuff like situated for us to go in and dominate and be in the best situation. And so when you're playing against guys like him, that's, to me, when you take a step back and go be the offense coordinator when you was the head coach, some people to me are better offense coordinators than head coaches, and some people don't need the headache of being the head coaches, of controlling this and controlling that and policing this and policing that and being at academic meetings early in the morning and instead of, focusing just on, your job as being a offense coordinator. You got to, do everything else and make sure everybody, here on time and make sure everybody's in the right place. It's different. It's a bigger role, and some people don't want the bigger role. And I think Gus Malzahn is one of those guys. He can definitely do it as a head coach, but he's had way more success as an offense coordinator.
Guys, when we come back, we're going to head to a segment we had some fun with last time, and probably going to be a regular on this because you guys were a part of multiple titles. But Tales from a Title Run is what we're calling the segment, a chance to look back at a couple of different things. So stay with us. We continue in a moment here on The Dynasty, a podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide. Welcome back to The Dynasty, a podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide. Our last segment, again, reminding you, as always, thedynastybamas.com is where you can find the show. At The Dynasty Bama is where you can find us on the social media platforms. We had some fun last week with Tales from a Title Run with AJ and Trent, multiple titles that they were a part of, and really special what they got done in their career. One of those that we're kind of putting a cap on. AJ, everybody talks about the win over Notre Dame, the dominance, the thing at the end. People remember you and Barrett with the conversation. We'll call it at the end of that. I want to, before you kind of go into it, I want to share something that I got a chance to witness before all that happened. There's about 7 minutes to go in the game, and the game's over at halftime. We know that. It's not over, but it's over. Okay? But with about 7.5 minutes to go, Joe Pendry, who had been the O-line coach, no longer was, but had a position within the athletic department. He's down on the sidelines. Okay? Again, this is 7 minutes to go in the game, and we're already talking about ring sizes and all that stuff. But Barrett was on the sidelines. All defense is out on the field. You guys are on the sidelines, and Barrett comes by, and he and Coach Pendry they're not smiling, but it's close. And I just happen to be standing there, and I don't know what their conversation was. It wasn't even my business. I was trying to be respectful of the space, even though I was already standing there. But as Barrett kind of pats him on the arm and then starts to walk off, Coach Pendry says, "Hey, finish this." So that, to me, just spoke volumes of where the mindset was for both of you guys and for everybody on that field. As you guys went back out, game's over. But with Nick Saban in the process, it's never over, is it?
No, it's
And that's why you both were locked in trying to get it done right based on what you felt like your responsibilities were.
yeah. I mean, what made Barrett mad is the fact that I cussed at him. Because that's what he said. Don't curse at me. The thing that pissed me off and why I got so heated is we knew they stemmed their front late. And if you watch the TV copy, I think it's first drive, maybe second drive, going into the game, it was, hey, whether they're in an over or an under, we know how to block it, call it, and go. So if we come up and they're in an under, we're basing our blocking scheme off of that. Then whoever we ID as the mic, we're rolling with it and then block it that way. If they stem late into it, don't change it. And so I'm already in my cadence early in the game. They stem late, they go from a over to an under. Barrett starts hollering out while I'm in the middle of my cadence. So I have to pause, and then we went on like Orlando said hut, which went to quick snap. It had happened multiple times in the game, during the game to where he kept doing it. And I kept reminding him, Barrett, stop doing that. Just call it and go, because you're screwing everybody else up because you're wanting to make it perfect. We've already said we're not going to make it perfect. We understand it. Let's go. And he did it to me late when we got into it and he shoved me. He did it with about 5, 6, 7 seconds left on the play clock. It didn't give me enough time. I was almost towards the end of my cadence and he started changing it. Didn't give me enough time. I was also pissed the fact that they called delay a game, because I clearly called timeout with 1 second left on the clock because I knew we weren't going to get it off. But I'd had enough of it. I lost my mind on him just because he kept doing it. And it goes back to him wanting to get everything perfect. But it's also my side of things is, hey, you've done this to me multiple times during the game. It's not just messing me up, it's messing everybody else up, because now, we got to go on a quick and everybody's got to be perfect rather than a true timing of the cadence itself.
Yeah.
But listen, that was just us. Barrett, I mean, we roomed together for 2 daggum years. Like, it's us and the drive we both had to be perfect. And I mean, we ended up having a good moment after that, hugging on the sideline and both apologizing to each other. But that was me and Barrett. I mean, anybody that spent time around us, we would argue. He would tell me I was full of shit, and then I'd tell him he's not as smart as he thinks. So it's kind of that was just our relationship. But
Yeah,
we worked well together.
And again, Trent, that's just those guys still. They're not even thinking about the fact that they're up, that you guys are up 35 or 40 something, whatever it was at the time. Let's get it right is what they're both thinking, and they're taking different ways. But I got to know, what was that next huddle like for everybody else when that just happens? Did everybody know?
Yeah.
Hang on. I want Trent. I want Trent's on this. I want to hear Trent's perspective. Do y'all just shut up? What's the whole deal on that?
Well, I wasn't in that huddle.
Leaders.
I wasn't in that huddle.
Okay.
But I was watching the game because I was in the NFL at the time. But it was so crazy because
I forgot you were old and you were out by then. My bad.
I guess I'm old, right? And it's so crazy because me, Mark, and Julio went back to the game, and all the guys had left and went to the NFL. We was back at the game, and we was walking in, and I can remember this like it was yesterday. And we're walking in, and we see Bama, they over there talking mess to them, and they just sitting there, Notre Dame just sitting there. I'm like, oh yeah, this done with, right? And so we're we still in a tunnel coming out, and we see Jerome Bettis. And if people know how big Jerome Bettis is in real life, Jerome is huge,
massive. There's a reason they called him the bus.
Yeah, he's huge, and I didn't know how, because I'd never seen him in person. I didn't know how big he was, so I'm fanning out talking to him. And I'm like, Jerome, where you going? He's like, did you just see that first play? And they stopped us the first play. And they couldn't get Eddie down. It was like the whole team trying to get Eddie down. It was like, you see what just happened? It was over with. And the next play, Eddie busted for a long run. Right. He was walking out the stadium.
See, I forgot. We talked about this when it's Alabama, all those championship years run together. I forgot you'd already moved on at that point. It's a nice luxury to have.
Like, we knew how Barrett was, right? Like, I know how, Barrett was one of those, and it makes sense because I never heard this story. So Barrett was one of those guys used to try to call the plays and everything that everybody got to do before it happens. Like, when AJ can be in his cadence, and he'll try to, all right, Mike is, then you gotta X, Y, and Z. And like, he used to do that all the time. And it's funny to see that, to hear this story, because I remember being in that huddle and AJ getting hot, like, bro, he got to stop doing this. Like you can just tell the look on his face. Because, and at the time when I was there, AJ was a young quarterback. And so he didn't really have the, and at the time, Vallejos was the center.
Vallejos, yeah.
Barrett was still trying to correct everything. And so, but that's just the love of the game that he had. And he was, man, I'm telling you, he was really smart. I know him and AJ go at it, but he was very intelligent, still is, But the respect that they had for each other.
Coach Saban, if anybody ever asked Coach Saban, that was Coach Saban's favorite part of the entire game.
Yeah.
He's always said that, like, he absolutely loved it. And then it gave him a chance to lose his shit because he hadn't had that chance all game either. So then he got to go lose his mind on the refs because he knew I called timeout with 1 second on the clock. So that's another great part of the TV copy because you can watch him take the headset off and he's doing this to the sideline judge. And so, I mean, it was still a great part. Listen,
what's even crazy at that time when that was going on, we was already at the Blue Fountain. Me and Julio was already at the Blue Fountain, chilling, watching the game.
My favorite part in that mix, though, was the split second when I forgot the D lineman for Notre Dame.
Yeah,
but
Knicks.
he sees it was
either Knicks or Tuitt.
Yeah,
he starts jumping up.
He starts jumping up and down because you guys are going at it, and then he realizes,
like, y'all down by 40,
we're down
bro.
40. It doesn't really matter. That was the best part for me. So, oh my goodness, great
Classic.
stuff. All right, guys. Do you want to save the 09 SEC championship for next week? Let's do that. I want to get your thoughts on that because you had different perspectives on that. And again, there's so many championships to talk about. We got time to do it next week as well as we continue to get closer and closer to kickoff on the 2025 season. Again, thanks so much for tuning in, but hope you'll remember that on all the social media platforms, you'll find us YouTube, Apple, Spotify, thedynastybama.com is where you'll find the whole show. And also on social media, rate us, review, and share at The Dynasty Bama. For AJ McCarron, Trent Richardson, I'm Chris Stewart. Thanks for joining us. Roll Tide, everybody.